It's kind of step one was to say, we're here, this is about what we think we might want to spend. Now we've got to fine-tune that and get very specific and have architectural renderings, etc., and begin the process for developing the certificate of need. All this will roll up together sometime in February of next year. And so to prepare for that, I have asked Ryan to put together a number of small groups. In these small groups, what I want you guys to do is think about your operation. Think about what you do daily. And don't try to replicate what we have here, because what we have here is 20th century. We want 21st century design. So I need you guys to sort of think outside the box a little bit. Don't get wild and crazy. We're not going to develop a George Jetson type facility. For some of you younger people, that was a cartoon back when I was in. But we wanted to design something that's very practical. But we also want to think about some things that we typically don't have here at Callahan. For example, a pneumatic tube system. We'll be on that UAB section where we can tie into their pneumatic tube system and physically be able to tube anything across the campus. So we need to think about things like that. How would we utilize something like that? For example, the central sterile section, we could design like it's designed over in some of the UAB ORs, where that central sterile section is sort of a central alleyway between two sets of ORs. And then you have a room downstairs maybe that is for the things that you have to clean, but the staging of it is in the OR section. That might be a possibility. So, well, you know, I'm just telling you guys to think sort of outside the box, that there are different ways of doing things that will make sense. And so Ryan is going to be getting with you, and you guys are going to be participating departmentally as we kind of walk through every section. Once we kind of get through that staging, we'll then meet with the architect in a larger group and begin giving him our ideas, or sort of our wish list, if you will. And then that is going to then lead to the design of the facility, which then we can price out and decide if this is something that we can afford and our business model will support financially. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do. I want you to be creative, but I don't want us to get sort of way outside the box. But I do want you to think about, how would you be able to do your job differently? And if so, what space would you need to do it? And then we're going to fine-tune that. So do I have any questions now? Yes, you've got a question.
Well, I've thought a lot about this, the new hospital, since you mentioned it, and I have like my vision for my department, but to me, because I've seen other hospitals do this, they're planning their departments on like what their, the number of cases we do now. I mean, I think we should kind of look ahead, because isn't part of our growth to where we can do more cases than we're doing now, and have more room to do that. So I think ahead, because what we have now might be okay for what we do now, but I would like to think in the future, instead of doing routinely 30 to 40 cases a day, maybe we're going to do 50 to 70 cases a day.
Well, that's exactly right. And just to repeat the question, when you look at this design, don't think about it in terms of your current volume now. Think of it in terms of growing volume. The design right now is that, the current design is, we have 9 ORs, and we do approximately 8,700 to 9,000 cases annually. We will be going from 9 ORs to functionally 12. Now, 4 of those are going to be in an ASC joint venture. So for the hospital facility, we'll be going from 9 to 8. The JV will be the other 4, which brings us up to 12. Those are our growth ORs. And so, particularly in regard to Central Sterile, there will be a likely purchase service contract from Central Sterile, or EFI, us, to the JV for instrumentation. So that would be a good example of how, even though we might be having only 8 ORs on the hospital side, we'll have functionally 12, and that's where we're going to grow our volume. Now, I'm not stopping at just 12, because we'll have shelved space for an additional 4, which will give us a total of 16. We'll have 12 on our side and 4 on the other. So we want to be able to grow, and we may not necessarily just grow ophthalmology. We may grow in other services that relate to ophthalmology, such as maybe a head and neck center. Think about the future. Think about what the possibilities may be. Is when we have that vision that we'll see what ourselves will look like 5, 10 years from now. And I think we'll all be excited with the result of that. Any other questions? Well, that's really all I had for you guys to do, to encourage you to participate. This is your hospital. This isn't Brian's hospital. This isn't Callahan's hospital. This isn't UAB's hospital. This is our hospital. Yes, Amy?
What all do you see in our new facility? Is it just going to be surgery and the things that accompany that, or do you see other things being over there as well?
Well, the question is, what do I see in terms of the hospital, and what services might be over there, and what functionality might be over there? The real interesting thing about building it where I would like to build it, which is on 7th Avenue South, it enables us to keep the POB and the parking deck, and we bridge over to that lot over there. So what we move in effect is the old hospital, which means the inpatient unit, the ED, and the surgery, the ASU. So that's the main body, and then all the support services that surround that, everything from Central Sterile to admitting, to pharmacy, to lab, all those things that partner with that and go with it. And so those are the things that will be over there. So in essence, think about the business model, and think about what do you need and where do you need it, and then think about patient flow. So how do our patients come through and experience the new hospital is going to be key. Example is admitting. You know, we've already gone to bedside admissions. I want to continue that. So we might not need this large admitting office downstairs, but we will need an entry for our patients to have their first interaction with us when they come in the front door. But it may not be a traditional admitting model that they experience, but we want their experience to be a good one. So we need to think about how does that work when they come in, and then they go up to the pre-op area where they're actually admitted. So there'll be things like that that I want y'all to think through. Again, put yourself in the mind's eye of the patient. And if you were a patient, knowing what you know as a clinician, what would you want to experience? How would you want to interact with the eye hospital as a patient? And think about the power that brings, because you know what you do. Patients really don't. So if you put yourself in the mind's eye of a patient, wouldn't that be a really kind of a cool thought, that you've designed something that you would want to be, if you would want to go through if you were a patient? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for outside the box, non-traditional, but functional design.